Dear younger me, we've made it to our 20s. Can you believe it? I still can't. It's weird to think that I've been living in this earth for 21 years now. Somehow, I'm still here.
Commas.
Change is a scary thing. I'm not gonna lie, the week before my birthday, I was both excited and scared because now I've officially entered my 20s. And that in itself comes with a lot of baggage. This year has definitely been a roller coaster ride. However, looking back, I've learned so much. And while I am scared about what the future holds for me, I'm also excited. Excited to see what else I can do. Because this year I've learned so much. So these are 21 lessons from a 20-year-old. Let's start simple, shall we? Lesson number one, the importance of listening. This is something I've learned this year that is so much more important than we realize. We often want to fill the silence of our conversations with empty words. We forget to listen to what others are saying to us. And sometimes we even forget to listen to ourselves because we look around us to what others are doing. And in that sense, we lose our clarity of thought. So, guys, I encourage you this year to start listening to what others are saying and truly be there. Not only shows the other person that you're taking interest in them, but it's also another way of learning. It was when I started to listen more about what people were telling me that through their stories, I've also learned a bit more about myself. Lesson number two, be vulnerable. This is something I feel like all of us need to do more to allow ourselves to show who we are and show those weaknesses to those we're closest around with. Because being vulnerable is a strength, not a weakness. When people see that you are willing to be vulnerable with them, they will thank you for that. You will be reassuring them that they can be vulnerable with you too. And here comes the fact as well that asking for help when you need it is not bad. Being supported is a good thing. Something I've learned is that I unfortunately cannot do everything by myself. Sometimes I need that help in order to progress. Also, very weirdly, when I started being more vulnerable around others, I have begun having more self compassion and self love for myself, which is something that I'm still struggling with. But this year, opening myself, I find has been the most helpful. Which brings me to lesson number three, perfection is the enemy of the good. I feel like most of the time I never wanted to be vulnerable around others because that meant showing that I was weak and I was struggling and that therefore I wasn't perfect. But I'm here to tell you to stop nitpicking. We are all humans and humans are naturally flawed. So why strive to be perfect? It essentially takes away the joy of life. The mess that life can bring, I find, is always the one that brings the most wonderful memories. This white and black thinking, either being perfect or not being good at anything at all, is never helpful. I used to feel like if a day started bad, then the rest of the day was already lost. But trying to make my days good enough and not perfect has given me a sense of freedom and a sense of control because essentially what makes a good day is what I decide makes a good day. Moving on to lesson number four. Innovation does not mean improvement. Creating something out of nothing doesn't mean that you're going to improve. And improving doesn't mean that you have to create that. Something I've learned this year from a talk that I attended by a professor of mine is how Apple, to be successful, what it does is improve. They copy and they make it better. And I've decided to take this approach in many things in my life. Instead of always trying to think outside the box, first stay in the box, look around, see what others are doing, try it out, and then improve it to fit your goals. And this brings me actually to lesson number 5, the joy of discovering. I feel like society is often more goal driven than journey driven. And what I mean by this is that we often just look to finish a task to accomplish what we want, and we forget to truly enjoy the journey. Like people need to chill. The goal will come, but isn't it more, I don't know, fun and enjoyable and more comfortable to be present in the journey and see the lessons you can get from it? The times that I've actually really just tried to focus on what I was doing to get to where I wanted to be have been the times that in the end the goal mattered the least, and what I've learned from the journey to get there has stayed with me and helped me on my other goals. Things that I'm learning from others in class, I actually take with me and reflect on them, and I use them to not only better understand myself, but also I use those stories to empower my own story and to discover a bit more about myself as well. Let's move on to lesson number 6. If it's not uncomfortable, it doesn't change you. And without change, there is no progress. I find that the moments where I am uncomfortable, those are the times that I truly see myself changing. Being uncomfortable means that we've gone out of our comfort zone. But going out there into the unknown helps us expand that zone where we feel comfortable. We often let fear stop us, but the thing is, we can always do much more than we think. I never thought I could start a YouTube channel, not even in my wildest dreams. But since I've started, I've discovered how much love I have for editing and how I really want to continue doing this. It has essentially become my passion. I had let fear stop me for far too long. So, something I've learned this year is to seek the uncomfortable. And I've learned that the secret of getting ahead is simply to just get started. Here comes another important lesson I've learned. Once we start, we also need to learn when to quit. We need to learn to essentially say no. We have to learn that it's okay to stop and that it's okay not to do everything and be everywhere at once. Quitting is not bad. It is a way to move forward and uncover new things. A word that I've really integrated into the things I do in life is JOMO, the joy of missing out. It's okay to say no. It's okay to just stop. That way, we let go of the things that don't deserve our attention anymore so we can focus on new things and essentially start discovering a bit more about ourselves. I am kind of a people pleaser. I tend to say yes to a lot of things, and then I feel overwhelmed when I cannot do all of them. So, something I really want to take with me from this year is the fact that when I start saying no, the more opportunities that I truly wanted start to present themselves to me. If you're going to take anything away from the lessons here, this one nicely summarizes everything. And that is that change is life itself. What I mean by this is something that I say often, and that is that the only constant in life is change. Well, it might be a bit of an oxymoron, it is essentially what life is. And once I started to view life as something that was always gonna be changing, then that's when I started to embrace my flaws and my strengths. This is where I started to better understand myself. I stopped comparing myself to my younger self and started to compare myself to the me now. Comparing myself to how I was is basically the same thing as comparing myself to others. People around me change constantly, so why couldn't I? You deserve to change, and you are gonna change. And here is also important to remember that we all are in different stages in our life, but no matter what, we can always support each other. This brings me to lesson number 9, the importance of community, of environment. You are nothing without a good team. That's why it's important that you curate your environment to reflect who you want to be. There's a saying that says that we are our 5 closest friends. And that's something I've learned this year to be so true. This year, I lost a few friends. I had to let them go because we were just not helping each other anymore. I know that it's hard to say goodbye to friends that you've known for a long time, but sometimes we just have to let them go. And if they're supposed to come back into our life, they essentially will. This year, I've truly learned that it's important for me to surround myself with those that empower me so I, in return, can empower them too. Lesson number 10, to let yourself be yourself. Be quirky, be abnormal, be the authentic you that you want to show. For far too long, I've tried to be what others want me to be, and that has never brought me any joy. And I'm sure that if you do the same, it's not bringing you any joy either. I'm here to remind you guys that it's not a bad thing to be the hyper one in the group or be, in quote, the weird one. As long as you're being yourself, nothing wrong can come from that. It is when I've started to own my own decisions and own who I am without apologizing for it that my confidence has improved drastically. I've decided that I will surround myself with people that have the high energy that I have and that are ready to accept me with all my flaws and all my strengths. And that brings me to lesson 11. Never scoop down. Your worth never depends on external factors, meaning grades, meaning weight, meaning what people think of you. These can never determine your worth. That is why it's important you protect yourself from them. I mean, obviously be kind to others, but kindness doesn't mean that you have to let yourself be pushed around by others. Not a ball to be played around with. You have worth and you have value just because you exist. So don't let others put you down. But just as you shouldn't allow others to put you down, you shouldn't be the one putting others down. That's why I've learned lesson number 12. We all have influence, even if we don't think we have it. The actions we do, the way we communicate, holds power. It impacts others more than we initially think. That's why I choose to surround myself with people that influence me positively. People like my mom, whose messages and lessons that she has taught me have influenced so much of the content I create for my YouTube channel. I find the things that she tells me so beneficial that I often find myself wanting to share them so I can inspire others and influence them in a positive way, like she has influenced me in so many wonderful ways.
No sé quién cojones te ha metido la idea de que no vales una mierda.
Yo misma, pero
Pero rompe con eso,
Ya, vale.
no es cierto. Ni yo valgo pepitas de oro, ni tampoco valgo una mierda. Pero de ahí a creer que yo soy ¿cómo se llama? Un diamante valioso y que todo el mundo se pelea por mí, a creer que soy una porquería, hay un mundo de distancia. Y en el medio hay muchas gamas. No tiene que situarse en una zona donde sea constructiva, no una zona destructiva, porque si voy a pensar que soy una mierda en el grupo de que son una mierda, es un pensamiento totalmente destructivo. ¿Para qué? El mundo se encarga ya de querer destruirte. ¿Por qué te vas a todo autodestruir?
this is where lesson 13 comes into play. If you believe you can, then do it. Don't wait for others to believe in you. Thing is, you can get good enough at almost anything you want in about 20 hours of focused work. The problem here is that most of us spend years delaying the first hour. We're afraid of the unknown, so we decide to procrastinate. So I've started to just try things for the sake of trying. I've been trying to experiment more in the kitchen with flavors, and I've been trying to go out of my comfort zone and try different sports. And I haven't been good at everything. I have failed multiple times, but that's the thing. Failing is the worst thing that can happen. And if we fail, we can always get back up. Failure and success are part of life. And here is lesson 14. Balance is key. The extremes are never good. And no matter how hard you fight it, life has a way of bringing everything back to balance, whether we like it or not. While having a routine is important, and for some, it's very helpful actually, this has to be flexible. Otherwise, as I've discovered, it will lead to burnout, and this will just cause anxiety and stress. So instead of trying to control our days, let's start just riding the wave. It's okay to relax and then come back into the grind when you're ready for it. And for that, you'll need lesson 15. Be present, aka YOLO. Many of us try to plan ahead or be stuck in the past, and then we lose the opportunity to create those wonderful memories that we have the potential to make if we are just in the moment. The experience that you're having is only happening right now. Try not to lose it. And instead of waiting around for those to be made, it's also important to create them yourself. And that's lesson 16. I am the one that can create my opportunities. While manifesting can get us started, it's important to realize that we actively need to go after what we want. I've learned to be a bit more open minded and open my eyes to see what opportunities present themselves to me, because normally there's so many in front of us that we miss. I always tended to wait for the perfect opportunity to arrive, but I know now that those never exist, because everything creates potential to become exactly what I want. All I have to do is see where that opportunity leads. Now, this next one is very close to my heart because it was something I used to believe a lot, and that is that being busy means being productive. But that is so far from the truth. What I've discovered is that most of the times, the activities I was using to feel quote unquote busy were truly unnecessary. I used to structure my day by the minute. Somehow it was comforting to know that I was going to be productive the next day because I had everything planned. But then the next day came, I couldn't do half of the things I wanted, and then I felt bad about myself because I just couldn't understand why I couldn't finish them. And it's because, simply put, they were not my priorities. I now often ask myself, what do I want to prioritize right now? And that changes from day to day. and from month to month, but it has helped me so much to structure my life to what I actually want it to be like. I've been living alone now for more than a year, and something that I've learned is that loneliness is normal. However, just because I feel lonely, it doesn't mean I have to wallow in it. We humans are defined through our community. We seek connections. That's why it's important that if you feel alone, go actively try to look for that community. I've been trying to just go to solo dates around town in Paris, get to know people at cafes, so I can get to know people around campus. I've been actively seeking to not be lonely, but at the same time, I've learned that it's okay when I am, and that it's better to be surrounded by yourself than by negative influences. Which leads to lesson number 19, the power of mindset. The perspective we have in our life is how our life is gonna be. So why make it a negative perspective? Now, I'm not saying to stop being realistic. What I want to say is that we have to start realizing that the way we view the situations are gonna shape so much on how we react to them. It's the basic law of attraction. If you give good energy, you will get good energy back. Now, lesson 20. Stop overthinking. We often want to control every certain aspect of our life, but the thing is that things that are supposed to happen will happen. I've started to listen more to my intuition because I've learned that deep down I actually know what I want, despite me saying that I'm always indecisive, and that is not only because I'm a Libra. When I truly ask myself where I want to head, I have always known the answer.
To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Roxanita. Happy birthday to you. Que los cumplas feliz. Que los cumplas feliz. Que los cumplas, que los cumplas.
Being the chronicle overthinker, I've let too often second thoughts stop me going to where I want to be in life. It takes time to progress, and that's the most important lesson I've learned this year is to take baby steps towards where I want to go. I have learned to take each day as it comes and to try to challenge myself as often as I can, but also knowing that some days the fact that I showed up for myself is perfectly okay. As I step into my 20s, all I wish for next year is for me to continue to have the opportunity to grow and come closer to finding who I really am. And I hope you guys continue to follow me along this journey of self growth and self discovery because I believe that each of us can do it. And all I can say now is that I'm excited to see what this year has in store for me. I hope you'll have a wonderful day, evening, or night whenever you're listening to this, and I hope we continue to grow together. 21-year Oksana signing off.